Alright, ladies and gents, welcome to this video. I want to give you the best niche picking strategy you can use for starting SMMA, starting an agency, any type of service-based business. We're going to talk about the dimensions of niches. It's seriously, there's many different dimensions, like multiple realities and universes. And then we're going to talk about this Japanese concept that will ensure that the niche you actually pick not only makes you a lot of money, but also it gives you extreme levels of fulfillment, which normally isn't the case. Most people are just looking for niches that will make tons of money and what's the best high ticket niche that I can get into. And you think that by making $10,000, $20,000, or $100,000 per month is going to make you happy, but at the end of the day, the niche you pick needs to give you fulfillment. So this Japanese concept is really going to serve us. Now, I know this and I can speak from this from firsthand because if you're new to this channel, my name is Taylor Bentry. I run an agency. It's called Better AMS. We do about $100,000 per month right now. I've posted many P&L statements of our agency. You can go look at those videos if you don't believe me and you want to verify how much revenue we're actually bringing in. About 30% of it is profit, and I pay myself a decent salary. So let's begin. And let's start with the dimensions of niches, and then we'll move into this amazing Japanese concept that's going to make sure the niche you pick actually gives you a level of fulfillment. Now, full disclaimer, okay? Full disclaimer. I am not going to be telling you the best niches. I'm going to be giving you the strategy that you need. So this is a great video, and then after this video, you can go watch all the other videos that talk about the best niches, quote unquote, and you can use this strategy when you watch those other videos, but you need this strategy first. Otherwise, you might pick something, make a lot of money, and be extremely unhappy and unfulfilled, all right? So this is the dimensions of niches. Now, most people have a level 1 niche. They start out targeting planet Earth. They have a full service agency. They have pretty much no niche whatsoever. Now, a classic example of this is someone who wants to start an ad agency. I've spoken with people who say, I want to run an advertising agency. And then that's what it is. And it's like, okay, well, what service do you offer? I offer everything: web design, SEO, PPC, display advertising, product photography. I'll do it all. Brochure building, and that's like what they think is an advertising agent. You're gonna have no success there whatsoever. Unless you've built $1 billion agency before, then fantastic, you can go and do something like this. But if you're just starting out, never do that. Level 2 niche is pretty much where you're targeting most of Earth, okay? So you have one characteristic. Instead of saying, I'm gonna run an ad agency, you say, I wanna run a PPC agency, which is pay-per-click advertising. Or I wanna run an SEO agency, which is search engine optimization, and it helps companies rank on Google. Now, this is one characteristic within the niche, okay? Again, it's still too broad unless you have a ton of experience in building and scaling agencies. I don't recommend you start out here. I have seen agency owners start in level 2 or level 3, and they've grown to like $800,000 per month in a matter of 3 to 4 years. However, these are people who had extreme amounts of experience. These are not 18, 19-year-old kids like myself when I started my agency, all right? Now, here's a broad niche. I also don't recommend you start here either, but you could if you feel really confident that you're in a complete blue ocean, which we're gonna get to what a blue ocean is in a moment here. But a broad niche, level 3, is something like this, where you say, okay, I want to run an Amazon PPC agency. That's actually what our agency does. Better AMS, this company right here, you can go to betterams.com, check out our agency website if you want to. We started out as Amazon PPC. That was the niche I originally picked when I started my journey of building my agency. So I picked a broad niche, but at the time, it was a super specific niche because there was no one doing it. When I picked this thing, absolutely no one was doing it. I was probably one of like dozens of agencies in the world. And the level of demand for an Amazon PPC agency in 2016 when we started our agency was so high that this dimension would have actually been considered a very in-depth niche. Again, what you have to understand is that like when Amazon.com started, most people think Amazon.com does everything. Well, they do, but the way that Amazon started at the time was they became a bookstore online. Now, you might think a bookstore online is not a niche at all. Like now, today, a bookstore online is the most saturated thing on planet Earth. It would essentially be considered almost a level 1 niche right here. However, in 1997, when Jeff Bezos started Amazon.com and he started that, he was one of the first, if not the first, bookstores online, aside from like Barnes and Noble, etc. And he wanted to, have the most books, etc., etc., etc. So that was extremely niche. First of all, no one was really building websites at that time. He was in an extremely, probably level 3 or even 4 niche given the time frame. So you have to factor the level of saturation in the niche that we're thinking about. That also affects things here, but we're just generalizing this in this diagram for simplicity. So YouTube ads, Google ads, Bing PPC, YouTube, Google SEO, Amazon SEO, Bing SEO. These are all examples of a level 3 niche. It's broad. It has 2 characteristics. Why does it have 2 characteristics? Because you're doing Amazon PPC, okay? Or you're doing Amazon SEO. So you're doing PPC not just for everyone on every platform, but you're doing it on just the platform of Amazon. So that's your service. That your service essentially, niche essentially is a level 3 service / niche. Okay. So here's where it gets even better. Level 4, and I think this is where most people should start out. This is essentially pretty in-depth, but very good starting point for people who haven't gotten into SMA or ever started an agency. Here's an example. Amazon PPC ads for companies in the healthcare category. Now this is so specific, and you don't want to stay here forever. You should ideally start here, get to 10, 20, 30, 40, $50,000 per month, and then move up to a level 3 broad niche, depending on the saturation levels of your niche. But this is another example. Google ads for plumbing businesses. Okay, so yeah, I specialize in Google ads, and what I do is I do Google ads for plumbing businesses. So Google advertising, that is one specific characteristic. For plumbing businesses, that's like the second characteristic, if you will. And the third characteristic, in a sense, is that it's just an agency in general, and that's the service that you're providing. Now, the other thing is that you have, PPC would have been one characteristic, but you're breaking it out into 2 because you're picking the platform. And you're also running for plumbing businesses. Now, another one is Bing ads for insurance companies, YouTube ads for startups, Google SEO for dentists, Quora ads for bloggers. You can see what's going on here. It's just you just basically have 3 characteristics in a sense, and that's what you would consider a level 4 niche. This is what I think an actual niche is, okay? Unless you have a complete blue ocean like Amazon advertising in 2016. There was such a massive surge of companies on Amazon and growing on Amazon, and no one had any clue how to run their advertising, that it was literally, I could have just, you could literally just like sign clients ASAP very easily. When I started this agency, we scaled it to around 20 to 22,000 a month, I think, in roughly 6 months. I got to 10,000 a month in like 3 months, and then 22 in 6, and it's continued to grow over time, and it's gone through its ups and downs. Now, a very, very in-depth niche, and I don't really recommend this starting out, but you can go this far, is like Amazon PPC ads for 7 to 8 figure companies in healthcare, plumbing ads for plumbing, Google ads for plumbing businesses doing over 7 figures. So you're just adding another characteristic to the definition here. So hopefully this makes sense, and hopefully this was insightful for you, because here's some real examples of generalists versus specialists. Because what you have here is, this is someone who's targeting pretty much, level 1. They're targeting planet Earth. Join my community and stay updated on the latest online marketing and business strategies, social media content, inbound strategies to skyrocket your traffic tomorrow. Okay, this guy is literally targeting every freaking business on planet effing Earth. Okay, this guy's this ad's definitely not performing well unless it's a retargeting ad, and I highly doubt it. Another example, are you ready for a new challenge? Short and effective high-intensity workouts. This is, again, very general. It's targeting pretty much every human being on Earth who wants to get in shape. Again, if this is a retargeting ad, there's a little bit more context, and that's a little bit better. Here's more specific, where it's a specialist. Okay, strong moms, fitness and nutrition for prenatal and postnatal moms. Dude, that is a freaking niche. Okay, talk about specificity. If we're going to talk about what kind of depth of niche this is, you got fitness and nutrition for prenatal and postnatal moms. It's probably in the level 3 to level 4, probably more so level 4 type of niche. Another one is Austrian Startup. So see this, like the first question, Austrian Startup. Right there, we've got like 2 characteristics, Austrian and startup. Okay, exhibit at the world's largest technology conference. That's kind of the third characteristic, is they're having a conference. Great. Global ambition. Look at this. These guys know what they're doing. They have a good ad. It's targeting the specificity. It's got specificity, etc. Here's another one. Do you live in or near Denver? Yes, I do live in Denver. What is this for? This is basically for getting in shape, transforming your health. This one's kind of broad, but it'll still work well given the level of specificity. So there's your dimensions of niches. So when you're watching a YouTube video that's talking about how to pick a niche, and there's tons, you can literally just search SMMA niche and you can scroll through here. Every SMMA niche ranked from best to worst, high ticket, niches for SMA, top 3 secret SMMA niches. And the list goes on. The best SMMA niche, everyone's talking about the best niches. I don't know many people that are talking about more or less the strategy that goes into this. This is why I want to make it more unique video. So when you're watching these videos and you're thinking about the niche that you want to pick, you need to consider the dimension and the level that the niche is in, okay? And you kind of have to have some form of intuitive feeling for the level of saturation within the niche. So let's talk about saturation within the niche, and then we'll get into this Japanese concept, which will help you pick a niche that you actually love. Okay, so saturation in niche, essentially you have what is called a blue ocean, and you've probably heard of this. If you've read the book, The Blue Ocean Strategy, you know what I'm about to get into here, but you have a blue ocean, ladies and gents, and you have a red ocean. Okay, and then you have something that is more or less in between, and you could almost consider this like, I don't know, a mucky gray area, if you will. So in a blue ocean, you essentially have, it's almost like it depends on the niche, but our niche, Amazon advertising, Amazon PPC, that was a blue ocean in 2016. It's less of a blue ocean now, but I still think it is pretty blue. And essentially what that means is that there is tons of demand, but very little supply for whatever it is that the service that you're providing is, okay? So again, lots of demand and very little supply, which means that there is tons of companies who want help with their Amazon advertising, and there's so few agencies or services that are providing that service, filling that demand. That's a blue ocean. Now, you get to choose the ocean. Like I said, the ocean will become bluer as you go into the depth of the niche. However, the ocean also gets smaller, okay? So you need to kind of see the different dimensions here. The more in depth you go with your niche, the smaller your ocean gets. So if I start my agency right here, Amazon PPC ads for 7 to 8 figure companies in the healthcare category, I might be able to get to $10,000, $20,000 per month, maybe at most like $30,000 to $40,000 per month. It'll be pretty hard because there's only so many healthcare companies and they don't want to compete against each other. And if you're running an ethical agency, you're not going to sign multiple companies who sell the same products. The point is that at some point you have to broaden the ocean and you have to go bigger and say, okay, I don't forget 7 to 8 figures. I'm willing to help 6-figure brands as well. Okay, forget 6-figure brands. I'm willing to just do Amazon advertising for any company on Amazon in any category. So as you scale your agency, if you start out in a very in-depth niche, you need to kind of loosen the grip and allow the ocean to expand. And generally speaking, once you gain some momentum, even if you're in somewhat of a red ocean, it's easier to continue to scale up and become a big fish in that red ocean. Because don't get me wrong, an ocean that is red just essentially means that there are exponentially more service providers than there is demand. Okay, supply and demand, super simple. Meaning, okay, there's way more Amazon advertising agencies than there are companies who actually need the help of Amazon advertising agencies. I don't think that our niche is there per se yet. However, even if there is way more agencies than there is companies, there is still probably a few big agencies that are essentially the big sharks in that ocean that are eating up most of the fish, because most of the companies who are looking for help are going to start going towards those bigger sharks because they're essentially the biggest and they're the most noticeable within the ocean. And so they generally get the most food, so to speak, most clients. And so it doesn't mean that you can't still build a big agency. You can. The point is it's just way freaking harder. And that's why I said, unless you've built a $1 billion agency or you've scaled an agency to 7 figures in 1 to 2 years before, I don't recommend starting out in a broad niche, because these broad niches, generally speaking, are more competitive. Now, you can come up with a very specific ideal client profile within each of these, but by coming up with a specific ideal client profile, you are entering into a more specific niche. So it's not, if you just say, I do Amazon advertising, well, for who? For everyone. Okay, then you're pretty broad, and you better have a lot of experience before you go and launch this agency. Otherwise, it's going to be a painful uphill battle. Okay, so ladies and gents, I've explained the dimensions of niches. I've explained blue ocean versus red ocean. Now let's get into this Japanese concept, which basically means a reason for being. I'm not even going to try to pronounce it. Ikigai, I think is how it's said. I won't butcher it too hard. What you want to think about when you're looking at the niches, okay? Again, you're scrolling through YouTube, you're like looking at all the best niches. You really want to keep this in mind. Do you have a genuine curiosity for the niche of Amazon advertising? Does advertising in general even give you any form of curiosity? Again, maybe social media marketing isn't for you at all. Maybe you're not curious at all about social media marketing because you're just thinking all about making 10, 20, 30, 40, 50,000, $100,000 per month. And that's all you can think about is like making enough money to live on your own and buy a Ferrari and move into a mansion, or just live in a decent house and have good food and be independent and not have to live with your parents. Whatever it is that you want to achieve, you can't just think about the outcome and the money. You really need to think about, am I genuinely curious about this niche, about this service, about this venture that I want to get into? Forget the money. Let's pretend that the thing doesn't make much money at all. Would you want to do it even if the money wasn't an element? Okay, that's the question you really got to ask yourself. You don't necessarily need to love it. I know it says, what do you love here? But what are you genuinely curious about? If you love it, that's amazing. That's fantastic. Now, what you're good at, this also, you don't necessarily need to think about too intensely, because you don't need to think, oh my God, I'm not good at Amazon advertising. I can't do that. I had no idea what I was doing when I started Amazon advertising, okay? I had no skills whatsoever in Amazon advertising, but I was good at processing numbers, and I was genuinely very curious about advertising. I thought, okay, if I can learn how to do advertising and marketing, I'll probably never go broke, because if I can know how to advertise something, I mean, I'll never have to need to try to make money again in my life, because I'll know how to advertise something and people will buy it. That I had a genuine curiosity, but don't worry too much about what you're good at. If you have skills and experience that apply directly to a specific niche or a specific service already, great. You have more of a head start, but you don't necessarily need to have tons of experience. Now, what you can be paid for is extremely important, okay? This is extremely important. Ideally, if you're getting to SMMA or a high ticket or an agency or any B2B type service business, I recommend you start off doing something where you can get paid at least $1,000 per month at a minimum, okay? Ideally $2,000 to $3,000 per month. But starting out, you're usually pretty nervous about signing clients and telling someone that you're gonna charge them $2,000 per month, so you feel comfortable at like $1,000 or $1,500. That's fine. Minimum $1,000 per month starting out, ideally $2,000, okay? So whatever service you're getting into, shoot for those kinds of numbers. Again, even if you're running like a design agency that is doing web design, don't design websites for less than $1,000. That is probably not super scalable. Again, it can be done, but just trust me on this. If you don't have a lot of experience running an agency, the higher ticket, generally speaking, the better, generally speaking. It's not always the case. And so that's important, 1,000 to 2,000, that's kind of the sweet spot. Now, what the world needs is also important, because this is what's really going to give you more or less some feeling of satisfaction, fulfillment. Also, if the world truly needs what you're doing, that's a fantastic thing. Again, this is why mission is in here, vocation is in here, and that's pretty much it. I don't need to explain this anymore. You can read this thing and explain it for yourself. If you have only, let's say, what you love and what you can be paid for, you'll have satisfaction, but a feeling of uselessness because the world doesn't really need it. That's why. And so you need all four of these things to achieve whatever, again, however you pronounce this. So hopefully this has helped. These three elements of blue ocean, red ocean, dimensions of niches, etc. And now when you scroll through YouTube and you watch all these videos about niches, you'll keep this in the back of your mind and it will help you. Now, again, if you're new to this channel, I recommend you scroll through some of the previous videos we've made. It's more of an advanced channel. I mean, it's kind of talking about how to scale an agency, not necessarily start. However, we do have a playlist for starting your agency and helping you get started. All right. Much love, you guys. I really appreciate you watching this video. There's only one thing I ask for you to do. Hit the subscribe button if you found value. Hit the notification bell. I do my best to post 3 videos per week, helping you start, scale, and automate an agency. And that is essentially my mission, more or less, if you will. So much love, guys. I appreciate it. And I'll see you in the next video. Ciao.